Hey, go-getters. I'm not sure whether I'm the right way round or not. I set it up to be this way round, but now the phone is telling me it can't change screens. Anyway, hello. Happy Monday. Still getting used to this Monday, Friday childcare situation. No, I seem to be around the wrong way. Okay, I'm going to turn you back round. There we go. Okay, we're just going to go vertical for today. Welcome to today's Facebook Live session. I have got the comments up on my laptop in front of me so I can actually see what's going on. As you guys are coming on live, you know the drill. I want to hear you say hello. I want to see you say hello as you come on live. So today we are talking about defining moments. We all have defining moments in our lives, and often these moments will define us in either a good way or a bad way, right? They often define us in either a good way or a bad way. And I'm sharing these moments with you because I think it's a really powerful way to understand our personal and self-development, and to also understand that oftentimes as entrepreneurs, so much of our life affects how we show up in the present moment. So I know that many of you already do a lot of self-development, whether it's meditation, journaling, reading self-development books, practicing other forms of self-development. But I know from my own personal experience that I really didn't dig deep into all this until I started my own business. And that is really because my first mentor did a lot of self-development and kind of just passed that knowledge on to myself and others. So I was starting to become aware of these things back in 2014, 2015. But really when I started working with her, that was when I became much more aware of self-development. I felt like I was the only person in the world that didn't know who like Gary Vaynerchuk was, or Marie Forleo, or any of these business entrepreneurs, Gabby Bernstein, any of these people who, are in the business world, but also in the mindset and self-development world. So I'm going to be sharing with you some of my defining moments from the past, well, I don't want to say my entire life, but from the past, I say 15 years, right? I'm just going to put this out here right now. I've gone back and forth about how I share this. Do I share it in different videos? Do I write about it? You guys know that I much prefer to come on live, and so I am going to talk about it. Now, I just want to preface this entire video by saying some of this stuff is still very real to me. It's not raw. It didn't happen like 5 minutes ago, but it doesn't take away the emotion or the pain that it caused at the time, and that, I still have to work on this stuff now. So I just want to preface this video by saying, if I get upset, I'm not going to stand here and apologize, right? I've watched other women, other entrepreneurs talk about, really big moments in their lives and in their businesses. They've cried on camera and then spent the entire video apologizing. I don't want to apologize for crying, because I know that if my client was ever on the phone with me, and, I've had many clients who, we're coaching and we get to something really difficult and there are tears, right? I want you to always feel comfortable with that, so I will not apologize for crying. So there will not be like ugly tears, don't worry, but I will not be apologizing for any emotion I may feel. So, the reason I'm sharing these defining moments is because I know that personal development is so incredibly important for us as entrepreneurs, but also, that I have opened up the doors on Be More Business Mentorship. The doors close on Friday for enrollment, and this program is so much more than just a business coaching program. On the surface, yes, it is a 6-month business coaching mentorship. But below that, what it means to me as an entrepreneur and as a coach, it means a lot more. And hopefully I'm going to be able to give you some insight into kind of where this came from and why I created this program, and why I coach, why I have my business, why you are watching me currently in my community, in the Go-Getter Network. Because really it all comes back to, my why and my own story, because, that's why we do it. We have a passion and we have something that we want to share with the world. So, for those of you who don't know, because I feel like I need to start here, I am from the UK. I know I have this kind of strange accent, but I get asked a lot. So I am from the UK. I do live in the UK, but my husband and I have a 5-year plan to move to Asheville in North Carolina. So I talk about that quite often. So if you ever see me talking about that, that is why. But yes, I am from the UK. I was born in the UK. I've lived here all my life. And I am an only child. I grew up fairly close to where I live now. And I grew up with both my parents working. So my dad actually brought me up. He was he was in the London Fire Brigade, and he was a firefighter, and he retired before I was born because of injury. And he retired before I was born, so he actually brought me up. So in the 90s, it was very unusual to have stay-at-home dads. And I remember it was normal for us, or for me, but it was also very strange because, like, school trips, all the mums would go on the school trips, and then it'd be my dad. And he used to get a lot of attention, which he loved, but, he'd get the attention. And, it was just very unusual at that time to have a stay-at-home dad and have him going on the school trips. My mum was working. She was a nurse, and whilst I was growing up, she actually went on to get her degree. And so she would spend a lot of time in London. Mostly my family are from London. And she would travel to London, and she would, be working and studying as I was growing up. So that was kind of how my childhood, obviously my childhood didn't just look like that. But what I mean by this is that my dad brought me up. My mum was working full time. She was the main breadwinner, right? My dad had a great pension, but she was the main breadwinner. And when I think about it now, it makes me laugh, because that's kind of, that's where my ambition came from. I had one parent who, obviously being male and bringing me up, I have a lot of masculine energy. And that's part of the reason I was brought up by my dad, who, always inspires me, had a very kind of zero fucks given attitude when it came to life in general. It was never arrogant. It was just very much, if you like me or you don't like me, and that's the end of it. Now, as you likely know, as women, we often struggle with this, don't we? We struggle with comparisonitis. We struggle with comparing ourselves to others. We struggle with the self-doubt and the, lack of self-belief. So growing up with that role, very strong male role of someone who really, it was like, take me or leave me, I really don't care. That really formed my way of wanting to be, my desire, how I wanted to be. And, I have my mom, who is an academic, and she loves research, and she says now, like, she could never do what I do, because there is always the chance that someone will ask me a question I don't know the answer to. Well, I'll find the answer. But she likes research and likes to go through that process. And so I grew up with these two very strong roles and role models, and they really formed my, my desire for ambition, my desire for a lot. They worked incredibly hard. Before I was born, they worked 2 jobs. They worked really hard as I grew up to provide for, to be able to take me on vacations and trips, and I was incredibly fortunate I got to do those things. So as a kid, though, I always, like many people, I struggled with my weight, I struggled with my confidence, I struggled with my appearance. This, as far as I remember, was something that I struggled with as a child, like from primary school when I was very young. Other people in my family, we don't have a big family, but my cousins were very slim and tall. I did not get those genes. I am 5'3" on a good day, and I have always struggled with my weight. And I always resented that because I didn't really know who I was. I wasn't, athletic. I wasn't sporty. I wasn't academic. I wasn't getting straight A's. And I was like, well, who the hell am I? And I just always was very confused about who I was. Where did I fit in society's, standards? Where did I fit in? So I always struggled with that. At school, I was bullied for being overweight. I don't know why else I was bullied. I was bullied. I think I was bullied. I was quiet. I was definitely very shy. If you get me a lot, even now, I identify as an introvert, but apparently I'm an ambivert, right? I navigate between the two. But in new situations, in situations where I don't know people, I am very quiet and I'm very shy. But in places where I'm comfortable, you won't show me up. And that was the same when I was a kid. So I was very shy and reserved. I was a very quiet child. But, my mum will definitely affirm when I would be in the car with her driving to London, I didn't show up for like 2.5 hours. So this was like something frequent we did to visit family. So I, have always kind of navigated between those two places. But yeah, I've always struggled with my self-image. I always struggled with my body. I struggled with my weight. I was bullied as a kid, and I just never felt like I knew where I fit in. I never felt like I knew. And when I went to high school, it didn't get any better. I would constantly navigate, or not navigate, that's not the right word, bounce between like groups of friends. I never had that tribe of girlfriends that I really felt like I could rely on. You know, I don't feel like I was naive. I felt like I wanted to see the best in people, and I didn't understand like the nastiness or whatever it was that happened, you know, when we reached high school. And it doesn't mean I definitely didn't play a part in it in the end, but initially I was so confused. I'd never experienced this before, and I went from a very small primary school of like 200 kids to a high school of like over 1,000, and I went to a high school where there was only 3 or 4 of us went to this high school. Everyone else went to this other place. So I had like no friends at this place. And I've always been very adaptable in that sense. So I've always been, I think that's part of the reason I survived it, is that I've always been adaptable. But I spent my high school, those 5 years, just bouncing between groups of friends, never really feeling like I had like one particular tribe. So, I started to feel like I had a place. When I was 16, I started to have this group of friends that I felt very close with, and I was starting to, I don't necessarily know I was figuring out who I was, but I was starting to find this place where I felt like I kind of maybe fit in. It was a very unusual group of friends, but I felt like I kind of fit in. So at that time, I'm just very aware that my mum was just watching, and this is like the moment, this is like the, you know, this is the more, defining stuff. So yeah, so I was just around finding this like group of friends that I actually felt comfortable with. I felt like I could be myself to a degree, and at the same time, my dad was sick. He had been sick for, I want to say around about almost 2 years at that point. And I had left high school. We'd gone through the summer, and I started sixth form. So I stayed at my school, and I went on at the sixth form there to study my A-levels. And I will never forget, there was like I think it was the end of September. It was, because it was my friend's birthday. My mum and dad had been to the hospital, and I was staying in school, and they phoned me, and it was not good news. And I didn't really understand to what degree the news, like how bad it was. But yeah, it wasn't good news. And that was the end of September 2003. We then went through kind of the next, month, kind of in and out of hospital, things like that. And that November, just a few months before my 17th birthday, my dad passed away. And so for me, you know, I had just kind of got to this place, you know, in comparison to that moment, everything felt pointless, right? All the drama, all the boyfriend hassle, all this stuff that, you know, teenagers go through, and we all do it, and we all go through it, and at the time it's an incredibly big deal. All of a sudden, everything that I had thought was important, I didn't care. Like, it just wasn't important. I didn't give a shit. Literally, from my experience, literally that day, I grew up. I had always felt like I was kind of old before my time. I remember hearing that for the first time and thinking, I kind of feel like that's me. And I always felt like that. I always felt like I was more mature than I actually was. And I do believe that the reason that happened is because it felt like the universe was preparing me for this exact moment. This moment at which I was going to suddenly have to grow up. And I went through phases. I felt like I suddenly grew up, and then there were phases where I wanted to just be a child again, because that was the safe time. That was the safe place. That was where everything was normal. All of a sudden, my very normal life just got turned upside down. It was complete chaos. I didn't know how to live this new life. I didn't know how to navigate this. I didn't know what I was supposed to do. At the same time, I had been applying to colleges, and I was looking, you know, at my future, and all of a sudden it was like, well, I don't know what I want to do. Like, I was very conflicted between wanting to live every moment like it was my last, and what the hell is the point, right? I was bouncing between these two extremes. And I had applied to a school, which wasn't nearby. It was, you know, at least an hour and a half's drive, and we were going to move there, and my parents were willing to do this despite how sick my dad was. And I didn't get in, and I remember I didn't get in, and it was just a short while before he'd passed away. And so I didn't get in, and when I actually didn't realize, or I hadn't thought about this until last year, that it was around that time that I stopped trying, because the reality is I could have applied to that school again. I had big dreams. I wanted to go off and study somewhere else. I didn't want to stay where I was. I didn't want to be the same. I didn't want to stay in my comfort. I wanted to get out. I wanted to escape. And I just gave up trying to follow those dreams. I gave up trying to escape, for a better word. Which is interesting, because at that time you'd think I'd want to escape, but I didn't. I didn't try. I just gave up. I stopped trying in school. I felt so confused. And for a very long time, my father's death defined me. I was very much like just trapped in this grief and anger and fear and upset and all these different emotions that any 17-year-old is not going to really be able to navigate very well. And so for me, this was a really defining moment, because it was the time at which I, as I said, was conflicted between wanting to live every moment like it was my last and just not bothering, because what would be the point? And I bounced between that for a very long time. But unfortunately, I got very, very comfortable in the status quo. I got very comfortable just kind of living my life by the rules of others. And that had never been me. I had never been the kind of kid or teenager. My parents were not like that. You know, that's the kind of sad thing, is that my dad was very much not the person who abided by the status quo. If you're just coming on and watching, hello. But yeah, he was not somebody that stayed with the status quo. You know, he was very much his own personality. He always taught me to be myself and, you know, create my own path. And I always held on to, of course, all of his advice, but I wasn't really living it. And it wasn't until it got to the point where I just kind of hit rock bottom. I was like, I'm so fed up with not feeling like I'm in control of anything. And I knew that there was potentially one thing I could control, and that was my weight, because I had always struggled with my weight. So in the end of 2009, I mean, I'd gone through numerous diets, but at the end of 2009, on New Year's Eve, Matt proposed. And so I finally felt like I had my reason why. I suddenly felt like I was like, right, there's a reason to take control of my health. There's a reason to lose weight. There's a reason to change the way I feel. And so I went on this kind of journey, which I guess was my first self-development journey, but there wasn't a whole lot of journaling, meditation, reading. It was just about my health. But along that journey, I learned so much, and that was where I ended up finding my passion. My first kind of real big passion in the most unlikely place. The girl who used to write notes to get out of sports classes, hated sports, always had, I'm definitely not athletic. Suddenly, you know, loved nutrition and loved exercise, but what I loved was the way it made me feel. And what I loved was the fact that I could start to see how I could help other people. I could start to see how this potentially could become a business. I was able to see how I could potentially help other women, you know, overcome things that they had struggled with in their lives. It wasn't so much like, oh, I want to help you lose weight. Like, yes, that's a part of it. And I still, you know, I can't deny, like, losing weight was a part of my journey. But there was so much more to it. And so in that moment, of course, I hired a trainer myself, and I saw the results, and I got certified. And that was when my business first started. I got certified in 2013. I finally finished my personal training qualification, and I was excited about something for the first time in almost a decade. I finally had something that I was so excited by. I was no longer defined by grief. The problem was I was still defined by my body. This is the only thing. So I was no longer defined by grief, but I was still kind of defined by my body. It was just in the opposite way. And I finally felt alive. I felt like I had something so exciting, some passion that I couldn't wait to share with the world. And that was a huge moment for me, to suddenly realize that I could help other women. I had watched both my parents do jobs where they were helping other people. And yes, I helped other people when I did, when I was employed, but it never made me feel good. It was never something I was like, yes, this is my future. This is what I want to do. This is my forever. I never felt that way. And so when I started coaching women, I was so interested by this whole online business, by how to do this, how to coach. And I knew that it was what I wanted to do. Which is why I kind of went so all in with regards to building my business, investing in my first coach. And I really went full force into making this my reality because I did not want my grief to define me. What I can now say is that it still for a very long time did. It's still, it's been almost 15 years, but it still is something that defines, it doesn't define me, but it's still a massive part of my life. It is actually a huge part of my business. It's a huge part of why I do what I do. I grew up with parents who I'm so lucky that they were incredibly supportive. They believed in everything I did. And despite what I believed apparently at the time, they, were very much of the belief that I could do whatever I wanted. Did I want to go to university or not? Like, it was up to me. I had felt this completely, this pressure, the pressure that was non-existent. This pressure was non-existent, but I had somehow created this idea that I had to go to university. I had to go down this academic route. But I didn't, and I didn't do that. And I now can see how I was able to grow up, or I was able to have an upbringing where I had two parents who in very different ways shaped my future, shaped my view on schooling, on education, both in their very own unique ways, helped me. My mum, still to this day, she is my worst best friend. She will call me out on my bullshit whenever I am bullshitting. And she is my worst best friend. Everybody needs a worst best friend, by the way. And she literally is there for me 100%. So I can see how both of these people, have such significant roles to play in my life and how they helped me. And I'm so grateful for that, because as I've got older, I became more and more aware of the fact that so many people don't have that. And that's one of the reasons I do what I do. Because oftentimes it takes someone to believe that what you desire, that what you want to happen in your life, that whether it's a career change, a health change, whatever your goal is, in your life right now, it sometimes takes someone else to say to you, I believe in you, this is possible, you can do this, for you to start taking action. And I'm so lucky that I had that support system. But this is one of the reasons why I run my business, because I don't want any woman to walk around feeling unfulfilled. Any woman that I meet or speak to, whether it's via email or direct message, or if you speak to me on the phone, if you show up on a live session, if you meet me in person, like whoever you are, whatever your goal, I want you to feel like you have a voice that's heard. I want you to feel like you have a place that you can, you can come to. It's one of the reasons why I created this group, this network, because I want each of you to feel like when you show up, this is a safe environment. When you show up, you are able to share your wins. You're able to share your struggles and ask for help. As far as I'm concerned, that to me is the role of a coach. And, this group is for you. It's for you guys to come together and connect. And whilst I facilitate the whole thing and, and I share and I encourage the conversations, it's really, this group is built on the fact that I want women to be able to feel heard. I want you to know that if you have a business idea, that you have a dream, that it is possible, that you're able to go out there and create something that you are passionate about. Because for so long, I didn't have a passion. For so long, I felt totally unfulfilled by my life, and I was miserable. I was miserable. I was existing, but I wasn't living. And, you know, I created, you know, my business, this group, Be More as well. I create all of these things on the back of my value for freedom. My value for freedom to be yourself, to express yourself, the freedom to be creative, the freedom to make money in a way that feels really good, the freedom to have a business that's worth having, creating a business that feels amazing, that's worth having, that gives you the experiences you want with whomever it is that you want to have those experiences with. For me, it's my husband and my son and my mum and my mum's partner and, you know, my second dad, as I call him. You know, all of these people in my life, I want to have experiences with them. And that to me is freedom. That to me is important. And so I go out of my way to ensure that you feel like you can take those ideas and I give you some solutions and you can just run with it, right? I want to help empower women to have a business worth having, create a business worth having, have a life worth living, right? All of these things, because for so long I didn't feel that way, and I didn't feel that way, and I had really supportive parents, and so I know how hard it can be to break through some of these barriers, to move forward, to take those moments that define us in a really negative way, in a way that holds us back, and actually move past them. And so, you know, these moments that we have that happen in our life, they don't just happen. They do define us, either in a good or bad way. And for me, it happened to be both. You know, my biggest defining moment, you know, it completely rocked my world. It took my world into chaos. But on the other side, it has fueled me to do such incredible work. It has fueled me to put myself out there and not be afraid to do that, based on the advice that my dad gave me once. We were, I've shared this before, but many years ago, we were walking through London. He had bought me, this like neon orange trainers. And I remember I kept looking at my feet, and I suddenly remembered that they're bright orange, and I'm going to go to school. Like, I was in love with them, but all of a sudden it dawned on me that I was going to go to school in these bright orange sneakers. And what would my friends say? What would people say about these bright orange sneakers? And I remember, I don't know how, but I voiced my concern to my dad, and he just looked at me and was like, you create your own fashion sense, create your own path. You don't need to be like everybody else. And he said that to me, and it didn't, you know, as a teenage girl, it didn't really solve my fear. But I held that with me for my entire life. You know, it's the reason I had pink hair. I'm kind of moved up past that, but it's the reason I had pink hair. It's the reason I, you know, dress the way I dress. It's the reason I show up authentically. I'm not the kind of perfect, put together woman. I cannot wear white without spilling stuff down it. I am the woman who, you know, I cuss. I wear my emotions on my face. If you say something and I'm like, seriously? Like, you can tell. Like, that's just how I am. And, you know, that's the kind of woman I am. I'm not this perfect, put together person. It doesn't mean I don't get caught up in perfection. Like, I'm a recovering perfectionist. Perfection still, it's a sneaky, sneaky bitch, and it still shows up sometimes. But I work very hard to empower other women, to allow women to be themselves, because I know what it's like not to be that person. I know what it's like to feel so trapped for so long. And, you know, that's one of the reasons I created, you know, my business, this group, and Be More. As I said to you, on the surface, Be More is a business coaching mentorship, but it is, at the very core, it is about freedom. At the very core, it is about giving you solutions so that you can create a business on your own terms that fills you with joy, that has you waking up in the morning like, holy crap, is this my life? Like, pinch me. You know, I sat there today, and I'm very confused again what day it is, because Grayson is usually here on a Monday. And I sat there this morning at my desk, and I was just like, I could never have imagined that this would be what I was doing. I could never have imagined that, 10 years, or not 10 years ago, 8 years ago, that, a decision to lose weight would be the catalyst for this. And as far as I'm not going to say it's fate. I think I made choices. I made very strategic choices. I listened to my heart. I wouldn't give up. And I wanted to see what was on the other side. That was what ultimately fired me up and kept me going, was what's on the other side of this? What happens if I actually do it? What happens if I actually keep going? And to this day, when we all have times when we struggle, we all have times, I'm human, right? I'm human. Hello. I'm a human being. And when I have those moments where I feel frustrated by my business or frustrated because something isn't working, what keeps me going is because I want to see what's on the other side. I want to see, well, what will happen if I actually do this? And that's what I want for you. I want you to be able to take your ideas and run with them. The amount of women I've spoken to over the last month who have got this idea, but it doesn't fit into this perfect social media bubble of what their business should look like. And so they don't do it. And they get on the phone with me and I'm like, seriously? Right, let's get this going. And we brainstorm it. We make it happen in a very short amount of time, because why not, right? Why not me? Why not you? Why not? Why can't you have the business of your dreams? Why can you not be fulfilled? Why can you not have something outside of everything that, society tells you that we're supposed to have as women, right? I have a husband, I'm married, I have a child, I have a house. Yes, I have the white picket fence. But I vowed to myself a very long time ago, a decade ago, that I did not want to put myself at the bottom of the list. That I wanted to have something that fulfilled me outside of all that amazing stuff. I'm incredibly grateful for everything I have, but it doesn't stop me from wanting more. It doesn't stop me from wanting to be more. It doesn't stop me from wanting to do more. It doesn't stop me from wanting to have more in my life. Because it's not that I'm ungrateful, it's that I'm ambitious and I want that. And I want to see what's on the other side, right? What can happen if I keep going? And that is why I am so driven to do what I do. It's why I'm not going to give up. Despite all those moments, as I've shared with you over the last week, those moments where I have genuinely felt like, holy crap, can I do this, right? They have almost closed the door on my business. This time-money battle closes the door on entrepreneurship too often. I've witnessed it with so many of my close friends who I met over the last 3 years have closed up shop because they cannot get through this time versus money battle. Do not have to trade time for money. Having more time will become yours when you become available to it. And it's so important to me that the women that I connect with in any way, on any platform, that that you're heard, that that I've got your back, right? I may not know you really, really well, but I've got your back. And this place is a place of community, and these moments that define us, good or bad, we get to decide what the outcome is. We get to keep going. And, it's, as I said, it's one of the reasons this fires me up so much, is because for me, growing up in such a supportive environment and yet still feeling so lost, I'm a lucky person. I'm lucky that I did. I don't really know that I believe in, I didn't have any control over who my parents were. So I'm lucky in that sense. But, I had incredibly supportive parents who, in their own ways, encouraged me to do what I wanted to do with my life. And now I can see how that worked for me. But as I said, there are so many people out there who don't have that support system and are dealing with negativity around their business or dealing with people who don't support them. And I just want you to know that I'm that person for you, right? I'm here to say that your goals, they're valid. Your dreams are possible. You can go and achieve them, right? You're a goal getter. That's why you're here. And I want you to know that if you have struggles or concerns, you can share them in this group. If you have questions, put them forward. And, you know, when you're ready to take it to the next level, I'm here for you. I'm ready to take your hand and guide you through this kind of next level of your business and support you to make this a reality. So yeah, I'll get off my soapbox. So I don't know who is still watching, but hello, thank you for hanging out. If you're watching on the replay, I do ask that you just come on and say replay. Tell me in the comments, and if you have any questions, please go ahead and ask them. I managed to get through that without crying, so you know, there we go. But thank you for joining me. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. As I said, I appreciate you just showing up in the group. I appreciate you watching my live sessions. I'm really so grateful for you. And I'm just so proud of everything everyone in this group is doing. I love seeing you guys all mingle and share, you know, your skills and your businesses and your expertise. And I'm seeing some of you gain more and more confidence as weeks go on, and it's so cool. So thank you. Thank you for doing that. So that's it. That's it from me. I'm gonna be back on Friday with you guys. As I said, I'm gonna have to get used to these new Monday, Friday Facebook Lives because that's when I have childcare. But that's it from me for today. I will be back on Friday. Just a quick reminder, Be More Business Mentorship closes on Friday. 12 noon, British time, closes the doors. Coaching starts next week. If you have been on the fence, if you're like, I really want it, but no, not me, not now, I can't, who am I, what if? I urge you and lovingly encourage you to book a call with me because we can talk this through, right? It's not a sales call. There's no bullshit. It's zero hassle. There's no obligation. It is a free call for you to make sure that Be More is the right program for you. If you have on your heart that you feel this is the right program for you, I encourage you to book that discovery call so you can discover if we are the right fit, if you have the amount of time you need to invest in the program, if you can make this work for you and your business. So I'm in my office on Wednesday and Thursday, so I will drop the link to book the call in the comments of the video. And if you are, as I said, if you're like, I really want it, but I'm just got all these, like, I don't have this and I can't, and just, I get it, right? I truly, truly do. You know, every single person I've ever worked with has felt this way when they invest money in their business. This is what happens when you make an investment, when you are about to, you're on the precipice of doing something incredible. This is what happens. And I have felt this way. My clients have felt this way. My peers have all felt this way, right? It's totally normal to have that fear of making that kind of commitment to yourself and to your business because we're not used to doing it. But I will drop the link into the comments. So as I said, if you've been sitting on the fence, doors close on Friday. Coaching starts next week. I will put the link in there and you can get on the phone with me. I'm in my office Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And you can book a call with me then. So thank you for showing up live. Thank you for being here. And I will see you all again on Friday. Bye.